Magic Treehouse Christmas in Camelot. Chapter 3 The Knights of the Round Table. A pair of torches dimly lit the draughty entrance of the hall. Shadows danced on the worn tapestries. "Wait here," said Morgan. "I will tell the king of your arrival." She headed through the huge stone archway that led to the great hall. "Let's peek in," Annie said to Jack. Jack pushed his glasses into place. He and Annie walked quietly over to the big arch and peered in. The ceiling of the great hall towered high above the stone floor. At the far end of the room, King Arthur and his knights were sitting around a huge round table. They all wore brown tunics. They had shaggy hair and beards. Their names were carved in gold letters on the backs of their chairs. "The Knights of the Round Table," whispered Jack. Morgan was talking to King Arthur. Beside the king sat a woman in a plain gray robe. She had pale skin and brown curly hair. "Queen Guinevere," whispered Annie. Morgan left the king, and Jack and Annie moved quickly back into the shadows. A moment later, Morgan appeared. "I told the king that 2 special friends of his have just arrived," she said. "Come with me." As they walked with Morgan through the great hall, Jack shivered. The huge room was draughty and damp. There was no fire in the fireplace. The stone floor was so cold that Jack could feel the chill through his sneakers. They stopped near the round table. King Arthur stared at them with his piercing gray eyes. "Greetings from Broad Creek," Annie said to the king and queen. Annie bowed, and Jack bowed too. The queen smiled, but King Arthur did not. "Your Majesty, you remember Jack and Annie," said Morgan. "You met them last summer in my library." "Indeed, I shall never forget them," King Arthur said softly. "Greetings, Annie. Greetings, Jack. How do you come to be in Camelot on this bleak night?" "We came in the magic treehouse," said Annie. A shadow crossed the king's face. He looked at Morgan. "No, your Majesty, I did not use my magic to bring them here," she said. "Perhaps a bit of magic still lingers in the treehouse and it traveled on its own." "What's going on?" Jack wondered. "Why does King Arthur seem unhappy about the magic treehouse?" King Arthur looked back at Jack and Annie. "However you come, you are welcome in my kingdom," he said. He turned to the queen. "Guinevere, these are the 2 friends who once gave me hope and courage in a time of need." Queen Guinevere smiled again, but there was a sad look in her eyes. "I have heard much about you," she said. "I've heard about you, too," said Annie. "Allow me to present my knights," said King Arthur. "Sir Bors, Sir Kay, Sir Tristram." As the king named each knight, Jack and Annie nodded shyly. The knights nodded at them in return. Jack waited to hear the name Sir Lancelot, the most famous of Camelot's knights, but the king never said it. And finally, Sir Bedivere and Sir Gawain, King Arthur said. The king then turned to 3 empty chairs at the table. "And there once sat 3 who are lost to us now," he said. "Lost how?" wondered Jack. "You may sit at their places and join our dinner," King Arthur said. "Thank you," said Annie. Following Morgan around the table, Jack read the names carved on the backs of the 3 empty chairs. Sir Lancelot, Sir Galahad, Sir Percival. Jack took off his backpack and sat down in Sir Lancelot's place. As he sat tall and straight in the heavy wooden chair, Jack looked at the king and his knights. They were gnawing meat off bones and slurping wine from heavy goblets. They ate without manners or delight. Jack really wanted to take notes. He reached into his pack under the table and pulled out his notebook and pencil. But before he could write a word, a serving boy brought more food. Jack quickly put his things away. The boy set a greasy slab of beef on a soggy piece of bread in front of him. The food looked terrible. "Not much of a Christmas feast, huh?" Annie said in a low voice. Jack shook his head. Annie leaned close to Morgan and whispered so King Arthur wouldn't hear. "What happened to the 3 lost knights?" she asked. After Mordred's dark wizard cast his spell, the king sought help from the magicians of Camelot, Morgan said quietly. They told him he must send his knights on a quest to the other world to recapture our kingdom's joy. "What's the other world?" said Jack. "It is an ancient, enchanted land beyond the edge of the earth," said Morgan, "the place where all magic first began." "Wow," whispered Annie. "The king chose his 3 bravest knights to journey there," said Morgan. "When they did not come back, Arthur turned against his magicians. He blamed magic for all of Camelot's woes. Hence, he has banned magic of any kind from the kingdom forever." "But you're a magician," whispered Annie. "Did the king turn against you too?" "Arthur and I have a long friendship," said Morgan. "He has allowed me to stay in the castle as long as I promise not to practice the art of magic ever again." A feeling of dread crept over Jack. "So, does that mean the magic treehouse is—" Morgan nodded. "Yes, banished from Camelot," she said. "I'm afraid this will be your last journey, and the last time we see each other." Her eyes filled with tears. She looked away. "What? The last time we see each other? Forever?" said Annie. Before Morgan could answer, the wooden doors swung open with a bang. A wind rushed through the great hall. The torches and candles flamed brighter, making the shadows leap wildly on the walls. The sound of hoofbeats filled the room. A knight on a huge horse rode through the arched doorway. The knight was dressed all in red, from his shining helmet to the long cloak on his back. His horse was dressed all in green, from the armor that covered his head to the cloth that hung from his saddle. "Oh, wow!" breathed Annie. "A Christmas night."